This is David Bennett. Welcome to Chess on the Brain. And so we're going to check out some Chess 960 or freestyle chess in both English and Spanish and Inglés y Español. So I figured that's kind of a random thing in the spirit of Fisher Random. Y estilo, decimos estilo libre. So I'm going to kind of do some Spanglish, mix it up a little bit since Spanish is the second most popular language in the U.S., second most common, and a lot of people want to learn Spanish, and también personas que hablan español, hispanohablantes que quieren hablar en inglés o mejorar su inglés. So basically I'll go back and forth a little bit, and I feel like sometimes intuitively it's easier to speak in Spanish, kind of flows a little more easily. Entonces estoy diciendo que muchas veces es más fácil hablar en español. No estoy perfecto, pero es como más fluido, más intuitivo. So I'm not going to speak perfectly in Spanish. English is my main language, but hopefully you guys can gain from it and check out some of these amazing games in the process. So I really like, though, how they're calling it freestyle chess. I think Magnus was talking about that, and it just makes it, I think it makes it a lot more appealing, like rather than Chess 960 or Fisher Random sounds very esoteric or kind of not so accessible. So estoy diciendo que me gusta mucho que están diciendo freestyle o estilo libre es más, creo que es más interesante y los otros están muy difícil de entender. Like they say sometimes 9LX, like mixing Arabic and Roman numerals. I'm like, let's just keep it either say 960, Fisher Random, or freestyle, which Magnus was talking about that, wants to make more popular. And they're saying the greatest of all time, the GOAT. Lo más grande en todo el mundo, más grande de todo, how do they say? They say más grande en todo el mundo, like, or en todos los tiempos, like of all time. So anyway, we'll take a look at this. So we have Fabiano versus Aronian, Fabiano Caruana versus Levon Aronian. We have Magnus with black against Abu Zatarov. And we have a game that was drawn between Ding, current world champion, and Ferrugia, which is one of the best players. And we have Kamer against Domaraju. I don't really know him too well, Domaraju. Vincent. So yeah, obviously we have the top player in the world is still Magnus Carlsen, and he's actually in a bit of trouble right now. So we'll check this out. May have neutralized it. Yeah, he was able to neutralize it. But let's go back. Vamos a ver las partidas de ronda 7, the games of round 7. So I'll try and do some more of these English-Spanish streams. Algunas veces solamente en español, la mayoría solamente en inglés, pero una mezcla de Spanglish creo que es interesante para aprender en diferentes modos. We'll learn in different ways, English and Spanish together. Use different parts for brain. Okay, so here's the game anyway between Fabiano and Levon, yeah. So we have, if we check this out, look at the placement of the pieces. I always kind of try to see where the weak points, like similar to F2 or F7 or C2 or C7 usually. ¿Cuáles son los puntos que no están muy defendidos muy bien? Like not defended well. Por ejemplo, aquí, these points, they're only guarded by the queen. Solamente guardado por la dama, la reina, de la reina, say reina, queen, or dama, the lady, they say. So yeah, you can see there could be pressure on both of those points, which they're going to think about. And you can even think about pushing the pawn. I like to do that a lot, to unleash the bishop, apply pressure to B7 or B2 similarly. So lo que podemos hacer es usar el poder del diagonal, the power of the diagonal, el poder de este diagonal. Y por los negros aquí, we say las blancas y las negras, black and white. So el rey está centralizado, centralized king. Just analyzing, breaking it down. Now this as well, this is like the equivalent of the weak C pawn sort of, or almost like an F pawn. I mean, it's only guarded by the king. That's actually problematic. Solamente defendido por el rey, muy problemático. La única cosa es cómo vamos a atacarlo. Vamos a tratar. Like, how do we attack it? We have to try. Vamos a tratar. Tratar is try, right? So what do we do here? Tal vez así. Now it's not going to happen immediately, but you could think about ways to come after this point and come after this point. So those are weak points. And now we think about how to organize our pieces. The bishops are easy here, pretty easy. A lot of people like, well, fianchetto, un fianchetto, F4, como bird, right? The bird opening, pájaro. They'll think about doing that, maybe easy development of the bishops. It's actually a pretty easy position to develop because your knights can simply go in the middle and the bishops can open very quickly. And again, of course, we want to think about the queen opposing the bishop. Oposición contra el alfil y la dama, la reina, en los rincones, in the corners, los rincones. And again, my Spanish won't be perfect, but hopefully it's enough to understand. Working on it. So yeah, we work on those corners opposing each other, right? Opposition between those pieces. So let's see how they actually do it then. But we want to have this rough understanding. So let's see how they understood it. So we have Karawan and Ronian. And let me just see the current evaluation just to get a sense of how this is going. Yeah, and white has an edge, but ended up, I think there was, yeah, just got a little edge out of it. But white tended to do pretty well in these games. So solamente poco ventaja más tarde. Solamente hay poco ventaja advantage para las blancas, para Caravana. So let's see, B4, B6, B4, B6, F4, F5. So symmetry over here on the F file. And white is just expanding a little more. We say extended, well, the queen is fianchettoing. Un fianchetto de la dama. This is extended, como extensión de la fianchetto. We say extended fianchetto, what do they call it? Yeah, extended fianchetto. So this is normal fianchetto. This would be extended. But basically the queens are opening first to not allow the bishops to oppose them yet. They'll have to work a bit to make those queens uncomfortable. So that's the first thing that happened. And you can see that they're already grabbing certain color squares, right? Because we have the diagonal pressure. White's trying to grab E5, just like a bird opening. White's going for the E5 square and black is going for the E4 square. So como en el opening of bird, el pájaro, tenemos control, estamos luchando para E5. Y generalmente vamos a usar nuestro alfil en este diagonal. Usamos nuestro alfil. We would use our bishop en este diagonal, right, para controlar E5. Get the dark square control. I think we'd say las cuadras oscuras, dark squares, or las cuadras claras. Claras is clear, like light squares. Oscura, dark squares. So yeah, basically we're fighting for different color squares. That's very important. Again, common in many openings, like the bird, like the English. In English, you'd have C4 to control D5. So we're using some of these concepts, right, in this random situation, which will help us for sure in a regular opening. But now it's a more creative way. We have to come up with it ourselves. So estoy diciendo que estamos usando ideas como control de una cuadra. Pero en una manera muy creativo que tenemos pensar para sus propios, pensar en independientemente, tenemos que pensar así. So no tenemos ayuda de nuestra memorización. We can't be helped by our memorization, right? Think on our own and think these main concepts. So let's see how they progress. You see? Progresan, even though they have the queen was looking like it was exposed, but then the bishop comes out, and now the queen is simply backing up the bishop. Una battery here on the diagonal. We have strength there, so she's simply backing up the bishop. And so it turns out it didn't really matter that she was behind. No estaba importante que la reina estaba en el diagonal. No estaba un problema porque la fila está enfrente. So actually, she's just providing more power. Proviendo más poder en el diagonal, and again, more dark square control. De nuevo, más controlar, más control en las cuadras oscuras, the dark squares. So we have C5, immediate strike back with C5, takes, bishop goes back. Okay, rook's guarding the pawn, the bishop simply retreats. But it seems that so far anyway, white has done better on the diagonal, but then again, black does the same thing. La misma cosa. Las negras hacen la misma cosa, errónea. Entonces él también está luchando para control, fighting for control, luchando para control del diagonal. Knight F3, Knight C6, caballo F3, caballo C6. And in Spanish we actually say horse, which is more intuitive. We don't say knight, because the knight is el hombre que monta el caballo. Pero aquí solamente decimos caballo. No sé por qué en inglés No sé por qué no dicen horse. Like beginners might say horse. They say, no, you have to say knight. But then horse is intuitive. So we say caballo. Castles. Now remember, in chess 960, you castle the same way. So the king just ends up on the other side of the rook as if it were on e1. Doesn't matter. It could be way over here. As long as the rook's on either side. Los torres necesitan que estar en los dos lados del rey. Y él puede enrocarse. Enrocarse es castle. Enrocar. Él puede enrocarse en los dos lados, pero tiene que estar después de enrocarse en el normal posición de enrocar. So like normal position. So we, F1 G1, king G1, rook F1, or a king would be on C1 and rook on D1. So for example, they could just flip right now. He can move he probably doesn't want to, but he can move the king from D1 to C1. Y solamente están cambiando lugares, like changing places. And but you don't want to. It would be pretty exposed. You could do it, but you're safer over here. Again, very similar to a bird opening, just like a bird opening with actually, interestingly enough, we would call this like a Leningrad Dutch reversed, because when you play the Dutch, you have F5 G6. En el Dutch, en Leningrad, tenemos la misma cosa para las negras. Entonces tenemos patrones, es patterns, right? I think it's patterns, patrones muy parecidos a diferentes aperturas. So we have the same patterns as openings, but different openings, but a little different. Just like when you normally play an opening, you got to look out for slight distinctions, right? So, but yeah, we are fighting for something like Leningrad Dutch. But black can very much do the same thing, and computer's saying it's about even, understandably. So I have knight F6 by Aronian, D3 by Caruana. And again, these guys are some of the top players in the world. Castles. We'll go into castle, knight bd2, knight b4, so looking pretty even. Here comes the knight. Not really attacking anything, but trying to improve itself and saying, hey, I don't think you want to give up the bishop for this one. Because it would give, you'd give up the bishop pair, super strong diagonal, bishop pair for black, that'll open up. You'd be opening up the rook, connecting the pawns, they'd work together. Not good at all. So entonces, sería muy malo cambiarse el alfil por el caballo. So exchange the bishop for the knight. Cambiar el alfil por el caballo. Si comemos, we say to eat in Spanish. Or alfil por caballo, we say alfil come el caballo. Sería muy malo porque no tenemos los dos, la pareja de los alfiles. Y más importante, este alfil sería muy fuerte. Y ya tenemos un alfil muy fuerte. ¿Por qué vamos a darle esto? No. Y el caballo parece como es problemático, ¿sí? Tenemos que estar muy cuidarse aquí. Es un tenedor. Como mi nombre es, yo soy el tenedor. Por Chatacom, Richard. So, entonces aquí, y es problemático. Por eso, él bloquea. So he blocks, because there is a fork idea to win the pawn and fork. But you really don't want to do it. No quiere hacer esto. Porque los peones están conectados y fuertes. Los dos alfiles. Y la columna. Decimos como half open file. So this is actually even though the knight's there, we call this an open file because there are no pawns there. So you can see the open file to be utilized by both sides. It's the only open file. Now this would be the half open, so it would shift. This would become, if you were to make a bad move and take, it would become a half open file. And it says black is up like 2 points. Very good for black, very strong. But it would become a half open file. So como decimos, como medio abierto, like abierto is open, medio half, like como algo así, medio abierta columna, we say column. Funny enough, in Spanish we say fila for rank. So we say file in English, file is columna, but in Spanish we say fila is actually rank, so don't get them mixed up. La fila. So this is la columna, the column, which is a file. So sería mucho presión en este peón aquí, C2 es una amenaza, target. Una amenaza en C2. Sería muy peligroso, very dangerous. Yeah, you definitely don't want that positionally. Sería posicionalmente terrible. Positionally terrible. Say positional chess, ajedrez posicional. And correct me if you're a Spanish speaker, I'm probably messing a few things up. But in general, say posicional, it's positional. Okay, knight b3 blocks it. So we got a5. Bishop takes f6. Alfil come f6 y torre come. Entonces ya no es necesario. Sería muy malo también así, elegir así y bloquea tu alfil. No es necesario. Es muy interesante. ¿Por qué hizo así? ¿Por qué lo hizo así? ¿Por qué captura este? So he had a reason. Let's find out what his reason was. Like, again, we talked about this bishop not wanting to trade for a knight. Hablamos sobre el alfil que no quiere cambiar por un caballo, right? Why does the bishop want to trade for a knight? Alfil por caballo. And by the way, alfil comes from Arabic. They say fil is like elephant. So alfil, because you have that Arabic in history in Spain, so they picked up some Arabic words like that. So they say alfil come eats el caballo. Y torre, say the tower basically, torre is rook. So torre come aquí, C3 para que necesita que huirse, y chase, we say huirse is to flee. A4, so interesting, muy interesante. Atacamos, we attack, we look at it, right? Atacamos, in English at least, we say we attack, we don't take. We attack, we make a threat, amenaza. Amenaza threat. Oh wait, amenaza target. Yeah, I think we say target. Oh, sorry. Let me just look it up. I was going to check real quick. Because target. Oh, sorry. Objetivo. Objetivo is target, just so you know. So, amenaza is threat. Amenaza is threat. Objetivo is target. So we have rook takes f6, c3. So kicks the knight. Atacar el caballo. Y también, en su turno, ataque. So in turn, he attacks our knight. Simply move it away. But again, we still want to get to the bottom of this as to why he took. ¿Por qué? Tenemos que entender. ¿Por qué el capturar? Come. C3. Was it necessary? Let's see. Did he think it was necessary? Creo que el problema es atacar aquí. Estamos allí un poco, no totalmente cómodo aquí con capturando. Yeah, creo que solamente que capture. Sería capturado, he'd be captured. He would be capturado. Well, estaría, I guess, temporary. Estaría capturado, he would be captured on A2. So, like, let's say he goes here. That's just a direct threat, yeah? Una amenaza directa. A4 attacking, so he has to go here. Now, again, this is probably okay. He might move the bishop and go here. Sería tal vez en el futuro. But I think mostly you can move it, but mostly it's just a threat. So you'd have to, por ejemplo, yeah, you can't really deal with it because you'd have to move your rook, but you can't move your rook. Entonces, yeah, tal vez estaba forzada. It was forced. Estuvo forzado, yeah. So, yeah, I guess you say estuvo forzado. So it was forced. So you take on f6, and then that way you have time to deal with this threat, which is why he kicks it. Yeah, it's really a problem. A5 is very strong. So it's a good attack by Aronian, just this queenside assault over here. Atacando por el dama, por el lado de la dama, the side of the queen, like queenside. Lado de dama, empujando, y atacar aquí, come, atacando A2, come, estaría comido. So fork, un tenedor, the fork. And then you just lose a pawn and you'd have to give up the bishop anyway for the knight. So that would be bad, right? Sería muy malo. Entonces por eso, para como mantener todo, para estar bastante sólido, to be solid enough, decidió a capturarse. So he decided to capture, but I don't love it. You see the computer saying minus 0.6, it favors black a bit. You don't really want this. See, la evaluation minus 0.6, menos 0.6. Entonces sería un poco ventaja, minimal, pero un poco ventaja para las negras. So it's taking a tiny advantage. Now, of course, that's based on computer stuff, but you can see it based on human stuff, based on human understanding. We can see the bishop's going to come out and be very strong in the diagonal. The knight's active, bishop's active, pawn's coming. So actually, from a human perspective, black is doing very well, and we're going to have to see some, some real resistance by Caruana to neutralize things. Necesita que luchar muchísimo para mantener su posición bastante sólido. Sería como C3, A4, corre al D2, caballo D2, B a D2, caballo A6, G3. So finally he's finishing his development. We have this kind of reverse Leningrad Dutch. Because Leningrad Dutch sería generalmente D4, F5 y G6. So now we have the same thing, one of those reversed openings. Very much like a Dutch, actually. Because for black would have like this, right? Maybe F5, but like you'd have this kind of thing for black. So es lo mismo, pero reversado, reversed. Reversado, sí. Okay, reversar es to reverse. So we have reversado posiciones, reversado, diferente aperturas. Sería como lo mismo, pero las blancas tienen la apertura como las negras. So we like say reverse systems, right? So reverse Dutch basically. But then again, black is also playing F5. So it'd be like a weird symmetrical Dutch, but no one really does that. They do symmetrical English, sería inglés symmetrical, pero Dutch symmetrical es muy, no es común. Pero este es aleatorio, este es freestyle, libro estilo. So you get totally different interesting things like this. Something you wouldn't. So again, might relate it to a Dutch, but it's its own thing, right? We can't use that as a crutch, our understanding of the Dutch. We can refer to patterns, but like in any game, we have to take those patterns and apply them independently with independent judgment, right? Nuestro juicio independiente. Tomamos una posición y decidimos, okay, ¿cómo voy a usar este patrón en una posición completamente diferente, nuevo? So novel positions, like any game, but again, we're even more in the woods from the beginning. Fog of war. The fog of war. How do you say? I have to look that up. Es muy importante. I say fog of war. Decimos niebla de la guerra. Niebla de la guerra. Confusión en la guerra. So yeah, you have to think a lot for yourself. Now here, okay, so it looks like then even though black has a bishop pair, it's not everything, because white has shut down the diagonal, so there's not much danger from the bishop sleeping on h8, and it's good, it defends makes it hard for white to attack the king, and it could become strong, but then suddenly white gets some initiative. Ya las blancas tienen un poco iniciativa, atacando, poniendo presión en la posición de Aronian. So he's putting pressure on his position with e4, makes the pawn break, and it's a strike in the center. Pawn break against f5. Very nice break, and suddenly he gets a space advantage. Ventaja de espacio. Ya tienes ventaja de espacio, right? Bishop c6, e5. And siempre atacando. Ya está atacando más. Queen b1. Interesting. So it seems that white's getting some pressure, although he has to be a little careful. I mean, this knight's pinned. You can't move the knight because the bishop would take his bishop. Hay un clave, a pin, hay un clave en el diagonal. Entonces las blancas no tienen mucha libertad. They don't have a ton of freedom, libertad, like liberty, right? Oh, and he ends up winning. Yeah, we'll see. He just won. So we're gonna catch up on it. Ya ganó 1-0 para Caruana. So we're gonna take a quick look at how he actually got there, or catch up on it. This just happened, right? So knight c7, caballo c3. Vamos a correr por la partida y ver lo que pasó. H4, reina a6. So we have like some maneuvering, like torre b8, with e8, a3, knight e6, h5. So we begin an attack, ya. Empezamos a atacar aquí. Y hay peones doblados, double pawns. Pero no es siempre muy importante que están doblado, pero aquí el rey está abierto. So here el rey está abierto, the king is open. So it's not just the double pawns. I mean, that's sort of weak here. You could use like even h4 square and come around or something. But yeah, you have attack on the light squares. Un ataque en el diagonal de las cuadras claras. See, the light squares. Interestingly, we're fighting for dark squares, but now it turns out that we can attack. Antes estábamos atacando las cuadras oscuras, pero ahora ya it's both, really. Es los ambos. Los dos oscuras y claras. 94, nice centralization, centralización. F5, corrimos. Pawn storm, una tormenta de peones. So it says a mistake, see? It's saying mistake. Que es un error. ¿Por qué? Why is that? Let's see. And it says that's really a big mistake. Un blunder. Knight g5. Let's see why it's such a mistake. So knight f8 says very bad. So básicamente está diciendo que él puede hacer g7 con torre g7. So we have to question the computer, of course. The computer's saying it should go like this. Then when you take it, what's the idea? You just get compensación porque hay un ataque. What's the piece count? So extra caballo para las para las blancas, pero las negras tienen contrajuego, counterplay, I think it is. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have 4 a 6 en peones. Por ejemplo, aquí, okay, ataque la dama. Aquí, es como puede esperar que puede sobrevivir en el fin de juego. So he's hoping he can survive the end game, right? El fin de juego, I think it is, end game. So takes, rook cd1. I mean, it's still kind of messy, yeah? Poco sucio. For example, though, por ejemplo, ¿qué podemos hacer? Because he wants the tempo, él necesita el tiempo en el contra la reina para ganar este. So, like, if you just retreat, he'll probably take d7. Por ejemplo, si solamente retiramos aquí, yeah, come, muy peligroso, yeah? And so just too much material. And you could, the white king is not that exposed. You could trade pieces. Este rey no es tan malo, ¿no? No sería como jaque mate checkmate. No sería jaque mate, yeah? No pronto. Yeah, maybe for him. Tal vez para las negras. Este es muy fuerte. Viene el caballo. Puede usar la columna para este. Puede atacar los otros torres. They can attack challenge the rooks, but definitely can support his pawn, apoyar el peón y coronarse. I think coronar. You like to become a queen. You can say corona, right? Corona, crown. Okay, well, we know that. Yeah, corona beard and otra coronavirus. Say corona. So we go for the coronarse, and that would be bad. So it doesn't want to allow that. So knight g5, rook g7, queen f4, dama f4. Está bastante sólido. Bastante sólido. Y tienen muy fuertes peones. Caballo fuerte. Todo está como trabajando juntos. So everything's working together. Coordinated, harmonious. Armonía, coordinación. So very nice, right? Everything's supported. And it's just, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, technically even material, but positionally, posicionalmente es terrible, right? You even have a threat of going f6, takes stakes, and f7 check. Rook would have to give itself up. Oh, then you'd have a checkmate. So tenemos una amenaza de correr con el peón. Muy fuerte amenaza. Muy peligroso. So strong threat. Fuerte amenaza. Peligroso. Very, very dangerous. Peligrísimo. Peligrísimo. Very, very dangerous. Like muchísimo. Very much, very dangerous. f7 mate. So yeah, we're after mate. So he has to really deal with that. So what does he do? He creates some space with h6, bishop check, y otra vez, ahora es totalmente las cuadras claras. Look at the light squares, just devastating. And we have opposite. By the way, if we look at using the Silman technique in balances, say okay, we have opposite colored bishops. He has a more exposed king. We have space advantage with the pawns, and we can use those to thrust forward. So es muy imbalanzado. Usando la técnica de Silman, Jeremy Silman, tenemos alfiles de diferentes colores, en contrasto. So entonces podemos atacar donde él no puede defender. We attack where he can't defend. So it's great for middle game attacks. Not in end games, it's often draws. Funny enough, I just looked at with my student. We looked at by Ben Feingold. Course on chess.com about how you can win with opposite color bishops. The famous Shirov game. Definitely got to know the Shirov game. Un juego de Shirov donde está ganando con los alfiles de diferentes colores. Very famous, muy famoso. Tienen que estudiarlo. You got to study that game. Conocerlo, know it. So yeah, very strong position, that is creating some mating ideas. So now he has to go e6 to block, and then he just crashes through. Tiene que bloquear para romperse and break through. So yeah, I mean, you're breaking through, you can break through, open up the file, but check out what he does. He goes e6, takes. So now this is, quote, hanging, but I don't think you want to do that, because then we check, unleashing this one. Let's say knight blocks. Are we going to have a mate? We're going to come down with the queen. Vamos a entrar con la dama. Columna muy fuerte. Y ya coronamos. Pero la cosa es que hay un clave. Since it's pinned, you get to come down. Where's our mate? Do we have like bishop check or something? Yeah, we have bishop check. Atacamos otra vez. De nuevo. Los diagonales totalmente. So we have that light square control, which is, ultimately what wins al fin control de las cuadras claras. Muy importante. A very important concept. The complex of squares. So here's the complex of light squares. So what ultimately happens, he takes back, caballo retira, I think it's retira, retreat, like retires. Caballo retira aquí a E4, centralizando. Muy importante, muy hermosa. Piezas centralizadas, beautifully centralized pieces. Caballo F6, otra vez. Entering the sixth rank. La fila sexto. Sexto, sixth. La fila sexto es muy fila sexta, sí. Sixth rank. And is muy peligroso. Bye-bye. Now he won the exchange, de la calidad, like the quality, which is also more intuitive than English, I think, because it's what type of exchange? It's an exchange of superior quality, which, of course, in general, when we say that, we're referring to the rook versus knight or bishop. Referimos a calidad, torre, supongo que ya conoce, pero es torre por caballo o alfil, right? Rook for knight or bishop. So yeah, he just wins the exchange. We have, exposed king. Our king is actually somewhat safe, a little bit. This is not quite part of his protection, but you never know. It could be in some cases. But just the G3 pawn's pretty safe. This king has no pawn protection, really. These aren't helping. So no hay protección de los peones, completamente abierto. We have a passed pawn, peón pasado. Empujando is pushing down. Podemos usar nuestros torres muy fácilmente. We can easily use our rooks. Fácil is easy, right? So fácilmente, muy fácilmente, very easily. We can even do something like, invasión en el 7, right? Can invade on the 7th rank. Yeah, so it's just done. That's why it says +4, like as if he's up almost a rook in value. Because even though he's up in exchange, his position is so strong. Then he just eats. Come. Y como dije, está bastante protegido. You got to be careful there's no perpetual. Jaque perpetual, creo es. But then he just gives up. He's like, okay, everything's collapsing. What will be the next move? It's just saying, rook b1, just invade on the b file. Invasión por la columna. Y por fin es las blancas que pueden controlar este columna. Now there's only two open files. Like I said, open files. This one and this one. It would be B and E. Remember, it doesn't matter if there's a piece. It's that there's no pawn on it. Those are the open files, and of course then the rooks reign supreme. Supremo, sí, para los torres es perfecto. So yeah, that's done. Okay, let's take a look at another one. We saw, Magnus lost. Let's take a look at this one, at least for now. Maybe I'll pick it up tomorrow, look at some more. Ya miramos como Carlsen se perdió. Perdió is lost, right? Se perdió. Carlsen, más fuerte en el mundo. Aunque no es el campeón porque no querría defender su título, es lo más fuerte. Yeah, he's clearly still the strongest in the world. And he's playing in the circuit. Ding hasn't even been playing much. So it's the current champion de China, Ding. Él no ha estado jugando, hasn't been playing. Él no ha estado jugando muchísimo. He hasn't been playing much. Pero Carlsen sí, jugando muchísimo, pero solamente que no quiere defender su título. He just didn't want to defend his title. He's done after 10 years. Después de 10 años está terminado. But he's doing other things, business ventures and whatnot. I mean, you can't, if you play chess your whole life and only chess, you'll go crazy. Sería una locura. Vas a manejarse loco, ¿no? Sería loco si solamente juega ajedrez toda tu vida. So I play a lot of chess, but I do more teaching. I don't actually nowadays I don't even play that much. I did a video on the Eastern Open though. I got 6 out of 8 after 2 losses. So I came back, still competing. But yeah, not as much obviously. Other things going on. You got to take care of other things. And work, so it's not as much time to compete, pero ojalá que puedo competirse todavía este año. Yeah, I'm hoping. I did the Eastern Open end of the year. I do like a local league and stuff. Hoping I can play more this year. But I would love to play in a Chess 960 tournament, like a real tournament in person. That would be great. Y estoy diciendo que me encantaría jugar en un torneo de ajedrez aleatoria, freestyle, estilo libre, en persona, en vivo. Sería muy interesante. But this is just for the top 10 in the world, basically. Some of a few others, but they're all. I mean, you look at I think he's pretty high up there now. Abusatarov, see him a lot recently. Recientemente Abusatarov, muchísimo en todas partes. He visto muchísimo. Carlsen, we got Caruana, Ronian, Ferrugia, Kamer, all of them are top. Ding obviously. Yeah, he already finished. He drew. But yeah, so we have all these top players here, which is amazing. It just shows how much respect there is for 960. I love it. Tenemos los más altos en todo el mundo, los jugadores más fuertes en todo el mundo que están jugando ajedrez libre. What do you call it? Estilo libre. So muestra mucho respeto para esta forma de ajedrez. I mean, it's chess, you know. It's chess, it's just you don't have to memorize. So you just get to play pure chess. Puro ajedrez, no tiene que memorizar. But it's pattern recognition. That's what you memorize. That's the real thing, right? You have pattern recognition, recognición de patrones, and applying it in novel circumstances. Aplicarles en diferentes posiciones nuevos, usando su juicio, right? Use your judgment. That's what it's all about. So let's see how Carlsen lost. It's always, if he loses, someone must have done a really good job. So si Carlsen va a perder, debe ser muy fuerte para su oponente. So entonces podemos aprender muchísimo. So we can learn a lot from this. I mean, you know, it's only a 25-minute game, but still, I'm sure Abu Sattar showed some strong stuff to be able to win. Okay, so we have, again, same approach. In the other game, remember, they moved the queen out first. But now we actually have the opposition between the bishops. So now the queens are not going to be open anytime soon. So es una, ¿cómo se dice? What's approach? Let me look it up real quick. Some of the words I'll look up. Es una, dicen.
Acercarse.
Acercarse muy diferente para aguantar la tensión, to handle this tension entre las reinas y los alfiles. So they decided to move out the bishops first, right? Well, actually, Magnus chose that first, didn't he? See, after this, and then, okay, go G3. So again, we have this kind of Leningrad Dutch. La misma cosa. A4, A4. Caballo F6, not F6. A5. Now, actually, I mentioned that. I like to do this myself. Hey, it worked out a lot. You'll see when I'm going to stream some more, maybe Spanish or Spanglish. I'm going to keep working on that. And when I'm playing my games, I love to do this thing. Whenever I see that pressure on the diagonal, let's say there's a rook in the corner, and there's a bishop looking at it or a queen, I'll just ram my A pawn or vice versa, H pawn, because it's very annoying. You know, often they'll let you get there, and then you get to destroy their structure, which is fine. I'll spend a few moves, and then they'll like start pushing the center. I'll be like, okay, I'm going to play like hypermodern, strike at your center, but then I've already got this pressure going. Or maybe they do that, and they get crippled, like a Caro-Kann, you know, the H4, H5 idea in the Caro-Kann with the bishop F5 line. Or you get this, and you know, you bypass, but then you also have pressure. So estoy diciendo que me gusta muchísimo en el cuando estoy jugando ajedrez aleatorio, para empujar mi peón en la columna A o H, the A or H pawn, right? The wing pawns. So I love to do that. Me encanta porque hay presión y puede empujar como Alpha Zero. That's what Alpha Zero showed us. That it's still a very strong idea. Now you do it early, but you try to get a concession. Una cosa que puede atacar. Solamente por esto. Like sometimes you'll have like this, and you'll have a knight coming in here or something. You know, kind of like F4, F5 knights. You know, things like that. Did it stop? We got Louis Armstrong. Nice. We gotta watch that. Got Louis Armstrong, Django Reinhardt. Love Django. Love Louis Armstrong. So they got some good. I think it's royalty free. I think it's just open source, if I recall, or public domain, whatever. Let's see. So yeah, that's good stuff. All right. So we have knight F6, A5. Gotta mix it up. Mix it up. All right, knight F3, B5. Okay, muy interesante. Interesante decisión. Interesting decision there. So at the very least, we can say he has like this wedge in his position. It's going to be molestándolo. No matter what, it's going to be bothering him, molestando, right? Going to be, you say molestar is bother, annoy. So it's in his position. Now it's not like he really had to take on some deficit developmentally in doing so, right? It's like development's almost the same. We get a little something on the queen side. Let me just make sure the stream is working well. Is it going through? Yeah. Okay, it looks like everything's where it should be. And then it'll just be saved as a video. And I'll do some more of it. Maybe I'll do pure Spanish, maybe pure English. Tal vez puro español. But I don't know, it's kind of fun to do the mix. I don't know if it's useful or not. No sé si es útil o no en inglés y español. Pero yeah, I just hope someone, I enjoy it, and I hope someone gains from it. one person gains from it if they learn a few, learn a few English words, learn a few Spanish words without needing to look at the subtitles. If you do look at the subtitles, maybe my pronunciation is bad enough that it won't even show up, but some of them hopefully. As long as something gets through and you still enjoy 960, solamente que disfruten y que aprenden algo en ajedrez, en el lenguaje, en cualquier modo, que está bien para mí, para que ganen algo. So I hope you gain something. Okay, so B5. But definitely, I'm going to run pretty soon. I'm going to do the international adult class actually at noon. We're going to talk about chess resources to learn from. So you guys can always join. Just look on my website, info through my channel. Just message me and I'll get you to send you the Zoom link. Mi clase internacional a las 12, so 12 Eastern. Tiempo es 5 UTC. So international time is 5 UTC or GM, same as GMT, like in England and everything. So yeah, so you can just message me if you want. That's at noon Eastern. So so I'll just do this a little more, eat some food, then do that. But I was very excited when I saw it. I didn't catch the earlier games. Estaba muy emocionada cuando vi que hay ajedrez, or we can say 960, right? 960. Or technically you'd say 960, you say 960. But I think you just say 960. That's how we say in English. 960. Aleatorio or estilo libre. You can call it a lot of things. Or somewhat, again, 9LX. I don't like 9LX at all. It sounds pretentious. 9LX. Okay, so you're mixing Arabic and Roman numerals. It's like, why are you gonna even throw in L? If you're gonna do it, do the whole thing. But why do you need LX? Does it sound luxurious or something? I don't know. I don't like it. So takes, knight c3. Okay, so muy interesante. Okay. Personalmente, no capturaría. Personally, I wouldn't want to capture immediately, but I'm not going to contain. The computer likes, he likes, but I'm just telling you what I'm thinking. I kind of like it in there, right? Sensible. But I guess, I don't know. I'm not really sure, honestly, why he decided to take or why the computer likes it. Let's say you just leave it there. What's a natural move? I don't know, knight c3 or something? It doesn't even change the evaluation. No, it's lo mismo. No, me gusta así. I don't know. I guess he wanted to put pressure on the A file, but I don't like it, honestly. I want to keep it there if I'm working to have it there, unless I know for sure I'm going to gain from opening the file. Quiero mantenerlo aquí, a menos que estoy seguro que voy a ganar de abriendo en la columna, If I don't gain from opening the file, I'm going to leave my pawn there and keep space. Hay espacio aquí en el lado. ¿Por qué no? So he decides to take en passant, right? En passant. Or we could say en passant because it's from French, right? I still use it anyway in both languages, I assume. Knight c3, bishop c6, queen a2. Okay, muy interesante. But we're seeing, now I'm just saying what I was thinking, but obviously the way that he did it worked and it beat Magnus. So now we're going to really study, how does he beat Magnus? Anytime you look at someone beating Magnus, it must be good, right? Cómo ganar contra Magnus. Este es lo que estamos a enfocar. We're going to focus on that. Enfocar en cómo ganar contra Magnus. So what he does is he's attacking the bishop. There you go. That light square attack again. Kicking the bishop back, allowing that diagonal control to occur. I mean, I suppose black can challenge it with knight e5. Don't see him doing that. But yeah, por ahora tenemos una dama con mucha libertad. See, and you can see by taking, hey, he's opened up. Oh, there you go, rook a1. That's what he does next. Yeah. So what he's done is by taking en passant, he has something clear. I think that's what he wanted. See, what he wanted to do, I think, was to get something very clear that he can push for, which is to attack the a7 pawn. Now, the only question here is whether his opponent could have done that and then traded down, and it looks pretty even. Yeah. I suppose, though, if you take, then he's got the a file. I mean, hey, it's something. Not much, but it's something. Take what you can get, right? I mean, I guess he's figuring, too, hey, this is Magnus. If I trade down, I'll take a draw against him. So Magnus is like, nope. But then he actually, funny enough, this is the computer saying it's like almost a point difference, and like almost like he's losing a, quote, pawn, centipon, which would be 100 centipons, right, obviously. So it would be like whatever, an 80 centipon loss, going from 0.1 to 0.9 as it sees it. But in other words, it's weaker significantly. He's going away from the center. I don't think it's terrible, but again, a7. I mean, it seems survivable, but yeah, it's he thought it was fine himself. I think it is, but there's going to be that pressure. Queen a2, hay presión. Será presión. There will be pressure. Maybe estar. Yeah, again, estar is like temporary. So it'll be like estará presión or va a estar presión. There will be pressure, right? So vamos a tener presión. We're going to have pressure. Queen b7, rook a1. I mean, there's direct pressure on a7. So he goes a6, but now he needs to be tied down. Ahora está atado. He's tied, right? Está atado. The knight's attack is to defend. This is a soft spot too. So tiene amenazas. They're weaknesses now. You know, he's a little soft, right? So knight a4, atacando. Sí, directamente está atacando b6. But he just takes it. Okay, but there we go again. Someone getting the bishop pair. This time it is white getting the bishop pair. And not black. In the previous case, Aronian got the bishop pair. And it didn't work out for him too well. In this case, the bishop pair did serve him well. En este caso, tenemos los dos alfiles para las blancas. En esta posición, en este juego, va a funcionar muy bien. Utilice los alfiles, supongo, muy bien. He utilizes his bishops very well, of course. Let's see how he does it. But he wins the game with these bishops, unless he trades them off. Okay, but again, we're seeing a lot of weaknesses. Again, now we're focusing on what? Dark square weaknesses. So tenemos oscuras, cuadras oscuras. See, so like certain weaknesses. He already has weakness on a6, but because of b5, he's really exposed himself here. But he figures, hey, I'm gonna go king e8, and you know that's actually totally fine for the king. Not only is he pretty safe in the center, but I mean he can spend 2 more moves, castle by hand, enroque. I guess you'd say enrocarse de mano, enrocar de mano. So castle by hand, like I view like handmade or like automatic versus manual transmission. Is it transmisión automática, right? You just castle right away, something like that. So we have bishop d4, okay, like the other game. We take the center with the bishop. Interestingly, he gives up his bishop pair. Es interesante que no quiere mantenerse sus alfiles. I suppose, I mean, I'm not really sure why he would do that. Yeah, because I'm thinking that too. The computer's saying c3 because he's maybe worried about this, but if you're worried about that, just play c3 and block the diagonal. They combine on granite. Si está preocupado por este peón, si molestándote, solamente juega c3 y bloquearlo. See? No hay nada. I don't know. Not sure why he did that. But again, I mean, I could question him still, even though he won. I mean, he didn't play perfectly, obviously. There's always things. And I'm just telling how I approach it as well, just as, you know, just trying to view it reasonably. As to why you'd want to trade it. It's trying to make some progress. Let's see. Va a tratar de hacer progreso, pero vamos a ver cómo. So let's see how this actually makes progress. Well, I mean, the king can't castle, but again, it doesn't, it's moot. That's really a moot point. No importa, okay? No puede enrocarse. It really doesn't matter. The main thing is that the bishop's absent, but that would have happened anyway, right? Like, you still could have had the bishop trade, and the king would have been just as exposed. Now, it's going to cost him a little time. Time is not exactly of the essence here. Interestingly, yeah, if we castle, we're going to drop our c-pawn, which is, again, the argument for c3. He does do d3 and c3 in the near future. Yeah, so he goes d3. Yeah, pero solamente vamos a ver cuál es el plan. Podemos atacar a su rey. Creo que sería un ataque en el centro, muy parecido a la última partida. It's like similar to e4 in the previous game. He might be going for that. But certainly you have pressure, you know, maintaining the pressure, manteniendo la presión en a6, diagonal, presión diagonales. Tenemos, estamos muy sólidos en el centro. Vamos a enrocarse, ojalá que sí. No van a enrocarse, but we certainly could castle. Oh, he chooses to go d2. Interesting. King d2. Va a elegir a mantenerse su rey en el centro. I mean, he's so solid in the center, I can see that. I could also see him castling and just playing for the central pressure. But yeah, he just keeps it tight. Muy tato, solamente caballo d4, centralizando. Ok, cambiamos damas, cambiamos la reina. So tenemos entrando el fin de juego. It's kind of like we're entering como un fase transicional, like a transitional phase, entre el fin de juego. So I think we're saying, like, I think it's the transitional phase will be fase transicional, I think, because we're entering the end game, right? So we're kind of, yeah, we have 4 pieces each, you know, 4 attackers each. We trade off 1 or 2 more, then we're really getting deep in the end game. But yeah, now we're, you know, it's an end game where you can still attack quite a bit. So e6, c3. So again, we have that kind of Leningrad Dutch reverse structure, very common, muy común. D6, or C6, como con las negras, con las blancas, D3, C3, and this. So we have this structure with white or with black, the Leningrad Dutch structure, interestingly. So he seems to like this for the endgame. It worked out for him. But again, that A6 pawn, I think that's really what it's gonna hinge on that. sería muy importante. La cosa más crítica tal vez sería el peón en A6, si pierde o no. So it's very interesting. What he does is he's giving up his bishop. Again, a lot of giving up of our bishops for something else. Trading bishop for bishop, bishop for knight. But now we just have knights and rooks. And I think he just figured, hey, look, I'm going to pick off that pawn. It looks like that's what he did. Solamente su plan. Voy a ganar su peón. Voy a mantenerme muy sólido. Let me double check. I want to make sure I'm telling you guys the right thing. Sólida or sólido?
Sólido.
Yeah, the accent's on there. So sólido. So you'd say like, yeah, mantener su posición muy sólidamente. So solidly, maintaining his position. So, or you could just say para estar fuerte, like to be, or fortalar. It would be like to be strong, or fortalarse, to fortify, to strengthen. I think it's fortalecerse. Let me see. Fortify would be fortalecer. Yeah, fortalecer su posición. Just fertilize or strengthen it. Fortify rather. So knight before attacking, yeah, and he's simply coming after it, just un plan muy simplístico, muy básico, directo, just very basic. Win the pawn, ganamos el peón, we win the pawn. That's it. Now the question is his technique. La cuestión es su técnica. ¿Cómo es su técnica? Su técnico de fin de partido. So conversion. You have to convert to a winning position. I mean, we kind of are, right? But you still have to do a little bit of work, Kick the knight. H4, so we have to deal with the knight a little bit. That's very annoying, actually. But what we do now is we simply have to trade down. Solamente tenemos que cambiar las piezas, y tenemos que ser cómodo con los torres al fin. So it looks like we might have a one rook endgame, rook for rook. Yeah, it's going to have to be a one rook endgame. Solamente torre contra torre. I would prefer, if you're winning, you often don't want to be playing against two rooks because they have more counterplay. Generalmente cuando está ganando solamente quiere un torre. Solamente que sabes que no es una tablas. If you know it's not a draw. Pero con los dos torres tienen mucho contrajuego in muchos casos. So we just avoid that counterplay for the most part. And as you can see, his only source that you have to always know what's my opponent's counterplay. The only source of counterplay is rook invasion on A2. Not really king invasion. Very nice tight pawns, controlling lots of central squares. So so it's not easy. I mean, and he has this opening, reminds me of Capablanca Tartakower, famous game with H5. You can use H5 to attack. In the middle game, Tartakower got scared and traded down. He still used that to open up and win in the end game. So la partida Capablanca contra Tartakower. See if you go on chessgames.com, chessgames.com, look at Capablanca. It's his first game, actually. First listed game as 10 what do they call them? Featured games, basically. And the first one that they've selected there is totally free, great website. I used an ad blocker so I don't watch the ads, but you can, otherwise they have some annoying ads, just watch out for that. But so then with Capablanca, he's doing all the stuff in the middle, kind of swinging between two sides, has superior bishop over knight, and ultimately it's his break. So Capablanca tiene mejor alfil contra caballo. El caballo no hace nada. What was it? I think it was A5 for a long time. Yeah. Ends up giving it up, though. Ends up giving up the bishop for the knight ultimately because of the strength of the rook. So he ends up winning that single rook endgame. And you can see it's the same idea of H5. Yeah. And I think there's a commentary on it. Who was it? I think it's like Alakine. He says like this is the cataclysmic event or something. H5. Boom. Very dramatic. Muy dramático. Cataclísmico. Eso es lo que dice en su análisis. Creo que Alakine. Creo que Aliokin dice. Creo que él dice esto. So, yeah, I mean, obviamente es muy fuerte, tiene presión. So interestingly, first it was the A file, now it's the H file where he's focusing. So he's gaining on both. But I mean, básicamente tiene extra peón, tiene presión. It's just up a pawn, he has pressure. And most importantly, in this kind of position, do not give them counterplay. Because they could be down a pawn, but if they have significant counterplay, that's bad. They can draw. Here, no hay nada. Por supuesto, vamos a defenderse así. Y ya tenemos un ataque aquí. So we just defend like this. We have our attack on the H file. And we're just trying to actually win the G pawn. Es lo que queremos hacer. Solamente come. Torre H6, come ganando. Win-win. That's it. Eat the pieces and win. That's it. Because we're already up a pawn. What's our extra pawn? Is technically our D pawn, right? So we have an extra central pawn. Now, if we can add an extra wing pawn to our arsenal or king side pawn, that would be great. Sería mucho más fácil para nosotros si podemos ganar el peón en G6. tenemos extra peón en el centro. Así, este es exactamente cuál es nuestro peón extra. Es D3. So yeah, see, now I'm getting in the flow of it. But basically, let me know if you're gaining from it at all. Whether it's beneficial for me to say short phrases and actually like say this is exactly this again, just for the not to be too didactic, but I mean just for the purpose of it's useful to learn Spanish, right? So for English speakers or I'll say in Spanish too, but if it's useful to have short phrases, so I can literally directly translate, or if you just kind of hear the phrase and get the idea, because I'm talking about the same thing, maybe slightly different way of saying it, but pretty much saying the same thing. Or like as a translator would do, they don't have to say like word for word, but they might listen to someone speaking and listen to them for a minute and then translate. So estoy diciendo si está ganando de si prefiere que hay frases cortos, si las frases hay muy cortísimos, y luego un frase y que traduzco un frase, so frase a frase, inglés, español, inglés o cualquier modo, estoy cambiándolo cualquier modo, pero si es mejor así o solamente que digo lo que estoy pensando por un minuto o algo así, y luego cambio al inglés. So, déjame saber si está ganando de si quieres, cuál es más conveniente para usted, para que pueda ganar más. Ganar en ajedrez y ganar en tus lenguajes, ¿sí? Okay, so takes, estaba mezclando usted y tú, okay, cualquier, pero sí, en usted, para ustedes. Okay, so takes, rook a2, king c2. Yeah, that's very strong. Has to go back. Now another Capablanca idea. He has a nice endgame where he goes like this. Presión aquí. So una partida de Capablanca también así. So a lot of pressure like that. In that case, the king was helping out too. But we have that central thrust, which is exactly what happens. But he also has, disculpe, con permiso. So we have this. So yeah, both of us, we're actually both tied down to a pawn now. Los dos estamos atados a un peón. But yeah, we have the central thrust coming. Estamos atacando en el centro. C5, king de rey de 2, C4. Interesting, muy interesante. Trata este. Okay. ¿Qué está pasando? So it's Carlsen. He's a great defender. Carlsen is un defensor increíble. So he's trying what he can, para romper sus peones, got to break up the pawns. So it's an interesting attempt. So how do we reckon with this? We got takes, centralizando su rey, got to centralize the king. Okay. Ya vimos su plan. Okay, so he's guarding his weak point on g3 to free up his rook, right? Now if he takes, it's not good because then he weakens this more easy to come after. So no quiere dividir sus peones and we'll divide them up, right? Para estar una isla, no tantos islas. You don't want to have too many pawn islands, right? So he lets his king deal with all that. Y luego, let's see what his rook does. Vamos a ver lo que hace su torre. ¿Qué hace su torre para las blancas? Okay, so his rook's coming in para las negras. Va a activarse su torre. Activar, right, to activate. So we have e takes f5, e takes f5, rook h5. Okay, well, direct attack. Rook can check. Now he's going to get our b2 pawn. So we have to reckon with this. That he's going to get that pawn. Now he's going to have to take him. It's going to take a little bit because he's got to get these. But then he messes it up. Now we're down to a few minutes. No, 6 minutes still. He must have messed. Where did he mess up here? Fue un error grande. Oh, wow. So he has to go here. Check. Give him this one. So, I mean, that's completely logical, right? Mucho lógico así. Que quiere partir con este peón, peón G, no B. Because he was kind of abandoning his pawns over here. I was like, you sure about that? It looks a little dangerous. So he actually made a mistake there. But then Carlsen made a counter mistake by not drawing, obviously, because it says he's drawing. I mean, still, it's 3-2, but I mean, look, you're probably going to lose. Yeah, tal vez vamos a perder este. I guess he was figuring he was going to win the H pawn, have these two, versus this one. Estaba pensando, creo que este aquí va a ganar H7, y luego, no, es portugués, 7, H7, y luego este peones va a empujar contra este peón. But yeah, it should be safer not to lose your C pawn. Más seguro que no pierde este. Yeah, it looks like he's going to lose that. No, okay, no. Yeah, okay. ¿Está bien o no? Is he going to lose the pawn? Sí, es lo que hizo. Y dicen que es tablas, pero sí es tablas, es a draw. Dicen que es a draw, but it's much more difficult, see? Es más difícil para las negras. Of course, it's much easier for Carlsen, for Abasutar. I mean, he's up a pawn, he's got two connected pass pawns. Dos peones pasados conectados. conectados pasados, something like that. Two connected past bonds, we say in English, right? So, yeah, then that's the blunder. Let's see why. I mean, he's able to manage this pawn, and then he's just going to push these guys, and obviously you can easily win. Puede aguantarlo y puede ganar fácilmente los dos contra el torre. So what was the main improvement here? So naturally you should use the king. But still, I mean, todavía creo que es difícil. Suppose he gains a little time. It's worth looking at. I got to run, but it's worth looking at a little bit later as to why, how he could have drawn. I mean, it's a very complicated endgame. But in general, I mean, 2 against 1 is very good. I think the main thing here is that they were not far advanced. Si están más avanzados, es más peligroso. Dicen que es tablas así, pero es difícil. Sí, dicen así, pero muy difícil para las negras. Pero sí, estoy diciendo que es más avanzada que esto. Pero en todos modos, puedes sacar, puede sacrificar el torre para los peones, you know? So you always have the option of like sacking the rook for the pawn and then pushing your pawn, right? Y luego empujar esto y ganar. So it's very difficult to hold, but yeah. And then he ended up blowing it. So it's worth studying. Puede estudiarlo más. Okay, bueno. So voy a planear hacer más de estos y ojalá que tú ganaste algo. So I'm going to do more of these. Hopefully you gain something. And yeah, so